see me. So yeah, welcome to week 2. So we're going with the flow, and this week we're continuing to do a little bit of work with the breath. Easier movements, I would say, today maybe than some of the ones that we did last week. So hopefully you'll find it freeing up. So the idea to get into flow is partly that we will be able to find ease in our movement, and some movements are always going to be more straightforward than others, but we're looking to try and get support of the breath, open up space for the breath, and kind of work with as much free movement as we can, and then we can take that into the rest of our lives and our running. So we're going to start with something fairly straightforward in terms of supporting the breath. So I've got my hands with my palms facing towards the ceiling, and my arms reasonably out wide. I've got my feet, I know you can't see the legs clearly, so the feet are either at hip distance or shoulder distance, whatever feels more connected. So I'm going to take my hands up towards the sky, and somewhere around the chest, I'm going to take the palms then up towards the sky. So I've still got my arms reasonably bent, and just to open up a little bit more, I'm going to take my elbows back a little bit, open my chest. I might look up, and then I'm going to bring my palms back down, doing the same circuit, revolving the hands at some point. When I get down, I might take the hands a little bit wider, bend the knees, and work my way back up. So this is going to be the in-breath. And a little bit more of extending the in-breath if you can. So the idea here is that we will start to empty out the system a little bit, the in-breath and the out-breath. So we're going to extend the out-breath a little bit when we bring the hands down at the end. And as we take the arms up on the in-breath, we're going to really see if we can empty the lungs out more than we normally would. So because I'm talking, my breath ratio isn't going to be brilliant. So I'm going to shut up, but you please do your own. So sometimes it's even better once you know what you're doing to close your eyes. So as the arms go up, the elbows go back a little bit to open up the chest. Out breath, palms come down. So again, I want the movement to be kind of smooth. Emptying out on the out breath, giving a little bit more of an in breath. Filling the lungs a little bit more. So find your own flow now. How could you make this a little bit? I know that if you kind of extending your breath a little bit, there can be a harsh edge to it, but just see if you can kind of just go a little bit further without finding any kind of harshness in the breath. So maybe 3 more. So we're partly slowing the world down a little bit by extending the breath, because we're doing it when we've got a little bit more of an uplift from the rib cage, then we create a little bit more space. The last one here. Okay, so we're going to take the right arm up and the palms facing towards the sky. The left hand, or the other way around, doesn't really matter, the palm is facing down. So whichever is our upper arm, that's the side we're just going to bend into to get more space for the intercostal muscles. We're going to breathe in there. As we breathe out, we're bringing the hands to swap over. So I'm bringing my palms to face me. Little fingers pass as I change over and come again over to create a little bit more space on the opposite side. So the out breath is the exchange. You might even sort of do a little bit of a bend in the knees, and then extending the legs as you come into this side bend. So we're looking to find more space for the intercostal muscles, side ribs, so we can breathe a little bit more spaciously again. So all these first ones are about how can we start to control and work with the breath. So again, you can sort of go to what feels like a little bit more than you normally would to deepen the breath. If that's not feeling good with the movements, then obviously you just go for an easeful movement to exchange between the two. You can look forward throughout the whole process, or you can choose to look towards your armpit as you exchange between each movement. You swap the head movement, but again, some people it doesn't feel good for the neck. So a couple more times on each side. Out breath, remember for the transition, a little bit of a squat maybe, and then an extension into side ribs. Okay. And just rest the arms down, a little bit of a shake out. Okay, so most of you will have your feet either hip distance or shoulder distance. Just take them a little wider, a little bit further than shoulder distance now. Soften the knees, so it feels like a slight mini squat. Okay, so we're going to take one hand, so my palm is facing the wall over there. This opposite hand is facing behind me, so I'm going to be pushing with one hand to take that behind me over my shoulder, and the other one's like a paddle, also supporting my back shoulder to move further back. And I'm just swapping over as I come back round to take the opposite hand, palm facing forward, over and look behind me. So I'm trying to keep a reasonable length to my spine rather than falling forward or falling back. You can take a breath in as you push the hands across the front of the body, and then breathing out as you extend. So just finding a way to get the out breath at least when you your limit or what range you choose. So this spiraling gets us quite a long way potentially, but make sure you feel sufficiently comfortable in the rib cage. So the hips will be moving with you, they're not trapped, so that you've got the scope to get into that rotation. So these rotations are much bigger than we do in everyday life, so we're kind of opportunity to work with the spine to really get it to maybe feel like it's getting a little bit more opportunity to find space in these movements. So one more each side. See how the breath is feeling, whether it's feeling kind of a little bit forced or whether you're actually now to the stage where you feel, okay, I'm getting a bit more comfortable. It might make you feel tired after your day. So pausing in the center, again, keep the feet wide and a little bit of softness in the knees. And then we're doing what we often do with the twist, a softer twist, but it's patting the hand across the front of the belly and lower back. So it's not such a big twist as we were doing before. It's more of a, it's more about speed, if you like, and rhythm. Let the shoulders be soft, and you don't have to think about a breath pattern now. You just need to let the breath be. We've created some space, particularly through the side ribs. We've extended the breath to try and see whether that can give us a little bit more freedom for the breath to support us, which is what we're trying to do to support our running, to get a little bit more freedom through the breath, much more freedom through the spine, and more ease. So the ease comes from us not getting worked up about what we're doing And the flow comes from that. So the flow will not happen when we're in fight or flight. We need to get kind of beyond that stage. Easier said than done. So then moving to the second position, you know, we have a soft fist on the front of the chest. So again, we're working a bit more on freeing the breath. And the back arm goes to the same position. So this might feel very different than when we have the feet hip distance apart. Yeah, it might feel a bit more restricted. See how it does feel in the center, how it feels in the hips. If it feels too strong in the hips, then just bringing the feet close together. And from here, pat on the back so that you can just get the shoulders and neck, get a little bit more attention. So just notice whether the movement becomes more easeful again, more flowing, more comfortable, or more strained. Coming back then to hands on chest. So the back arm's always in the same place. It's just the front arm that has a variety of options. So really feel how it resonates through the chest as you pat yourself or tap yourself. Back to lower body, so more center, front of the belly, back of the kidneys. Okay, and then just slow that down, slow that down, slow that down. Okay, I just need to adjust this so you get a little bit of a clearer picture. So, legs are still wide. I'm going to have a slight bend in my knees and I'm going to come forward. I'm going to let my arms be loose, shoulders be loose, and let my arms become a pendulum. So they're swinging, obviously not to the floor. So let the neck be soft. Don't drop the head down, just let the neck be soft. As I say, keep that bend in the knee so that hopefully the lower back feels okay. So just pay attention to the lower back just in case this is feeling too strong. And depending if you've got room, either because of dogs or furniture or both, to take the arms higher. Yeah, so obviously there's more risk for the lower back there. So you might just want to keep it into a smaller rhythm, or you might want to take the arms a little bit higher. So again, it's still that pendulum swing. Soft knees. So far I've not lost any furniture here, knocked anything over. So again, we just kind of try to create a bit more space through rhythm, which is what we're doing in running a lot of the time. Rhythm. Okay, slow that down. And then again, initially with bent knees, let the top body rest over the bottom body. So the crown of the head is heading towards the ground. The arms are just dangling really, just to give a little bit more weight to allow the lower back to extend if it will, to release. Okay, so from here, bend the knees to help yourself get back up to standing. And just take the arms wide, chest forward and looking up. And then on the out breath, we're just bringing the hands together to coming towards the chest, let the chest cave in a little bit as you bring the hands in, chin to chest. Take an in breath, open out, chest forward, pelvis out. On the out breath, hands come into center, it's kind of like a mini bow. In breath, that opening up, palms face forward. Chest comes out a little bit, pelvis. So it's that open movement, and then there's a slight closed movement with the bow. Great, so opening up. See how that feels across the front of the chest, how it feels in the lower back as the pelvis comes forward. Can it be really smooth and flowing? So always just see how the breath works. If it doesn't if it just feels like it's getting in the way, just do the movements and let the breath be soft. But if you can work on this idea that there is a possibility of the breath and the body kind of moving in unison, just play around with it when you can. Okay, so a couple more of these movements. And then we're going to pause here. Okay, so if you make sure the toes are out more than the heels, so toes are out, heels are slightly in. You might need to take an even wider stance, see how you go. Releasing the hands down the right leg, so you're heading towards your ankle. And then if you can straighten that right leg, you do. If it's not good for hamstrings, then you keep the knee bent. From there, just drifting over to, keeping down, drift over to the opposite leg. And again, see if you can straighten that leg. You can keep the opposite leg bent as much as you want to, if that helps. And then swap sides. So you've got one leg straight, one leg bent if you want to just get over. So it's a twist, it's a roll forward. Swapping sides. So taking a breath out as you go to go to one leg, and then on the route across, breathe in a little bit, breathe out on the opposite side. If it's not happy lower back, then just come out of it by bending the knees. So one more each side. Back to center when you're ready. Bend the knees so you're almost doing a squat. Bring the arms forward and gather yourself back into standing. Let's just take a break for the legs. Bring the arms down and heel toe, get yourself back into hip distance. Just bring knees up and just again allow a little bit more space for the lower back to ease. So just walking on the spot, but bringing the knees reasonably high to get the lower back. A bit of respite. Okay, so wonderful. So from here, we're taking the feet wide again. So we're going into Warrior Two, which most of you know really well. So I'm going to take my pivot round on my right heel, so my toes are pointing in the front of the mat, and I'm going to bend in that knee. I know it's not always easy to see on screen. That leg's bent, this one's straight. Feeling strong. So, you know, we'll have different distances between the legs. You ideally have your front knee above your ankle, and then you just decide how much you can feel safe and stable and strong through the legs. So a little bit of pressure down through the feet to get that strong legs. Bring the arms up to shoulder level, palms facing down. So from here, we're going to extend through that front leg, so that becomes a straight leg, and the hands come in towards the chest. We open out, bend the front knee, look forward over the front fingers. So we can then use the breath. So we can breathe out as we extend, bending the front knee into Warrior Two, let the shoulders just descend. And breathe in as we straighten the front leg and just bring the hands into the front of the chest. So again, the breath is trying to help us, and it's how can we move in a strong, stable way using the breath without creating kind of juddery movements or clunky movements. So if you have to calm things down, calming the breath down, or just slightly changing the range of movement, then do what you do. Sometimes you have to change the distance between your legs so that you're comfortable. So you want the legs to be strong, but you want a little bit more softness, particularly through the movement. So it's like you're kind of really softening in, and then you arrive, and then you soften out. So it's a soft movement, but then there is engagement through the arms as well. So from here, on this first side, we're going to come into side angle. So this bent knee, I'm going to bring the lower arm down. I'm going to take my upper arm over. So there's an extension from my top arm to the back leg. And I'm going to look if I can be stable enough, kind of armpit, upper arm level. And then I'm going to keep my legs where they are, but I'm going to come up into reverse warrior. So that means taking my hand to my straight leg and taking my other arm up and over. So it's a lengthening down this side. And I'm going to again look at the arm or armpit kind of area. So we're going between the two. So breathing out would be this part of the movement. And trying to use the body to support yourself and the breath to support yourself as you come into reverse warrior. Legs stay the same, stable, connected. And in the end, you don't really need to think about your legs. You're just thinking about the flow of the movement in the upper body. It's not tricky for most of us. This second one might be a little bit more challenging. Notice if you are changing your leg position on the reverse warrior. So we breathe out. We soften, breathe in, go into our reverse. Leg stable, soft, flow, easeful movement. Okay. So next time we can just come to warrior for a moment. Just have a little check how the legs are going. So sometimes my knee wanders over to my big toe. I'm wanting to try and get it back to be stable in the center. So looking over second, third toe. So sometimes just keep an eye on that one. Okay, let the arms come down. Let the toes point towards the front for a moment. If you can cope with changing sides straight away, change sides. If you need to bring your legs in before you reorganize yourself, then do. So again, just get yourself really happy with this positioning. So knee above ankle, feeling strong, not feeling like you're on too much on a tightrope. We'll all be slightly different in our positioning between front leg, back leg. Coming to warrior. So the first part of the movement, if you remember, went from arms extended to straight front leg and hands into center. Breathing out and lengthening, maybe looking out through that front hand. Breathing in, softening back into center. So you know this really well. So it's harder to be aware where you're tracking the knee sometimes on this one. So really be interested in how you can get your knee to go out in line from your hip towards your ankle. And when you come to straight leg, there's always a minor bend, so you're not pushing into the back of your knee. Quite hard to achieve that. Sometimes if you take a really big stance, it's even harder. See how it's going with the breath. So if flow is kind of coming, this kind of feels like kind of both an ease, a smoothness, a softness and a calm. Yeah, so might not feel like calming in your home. I don't know what else is going on, but that's where we're kind of working towards. We're working towards also having the mind sort of just focusing on the movement. So the mind's kind of in the body rather than working out what we're having for tea, which now said that you're going to actually be thinking about that. So that's where we go with that one. So we're going to move into second stage. So finding your forearm onto your thigh, your muscly thigh. Extend your arm, I don't know why I like, extending your arm above your head. And look, armpit, upper arm, and then from there into reverse warrior, legs stay where they are, arms just turn in the opposite direction. And out breath is our descent. In breath is our reverse. So if there are kind of sticky areas, hips, shoulders, then kind of seeing whether you could find a smoother way of doing it. Are you over efforting? Could you soften? Is it you got your legs too far apart or not far apart enough? But even if you don't do it immediately, something to think about and try yourself. So I know we're doing a lot of fairly straightforward movements for quite a long period of time, but that's the repetition is often where things start to change. So you might find you're getting more easeful movement on the second side, or it might be a tighter side. But whatever, you're trying to make it or get into a more softer way of going. So one more each side. And back into warrior for a second. And then face forward. And then let's get the legs together. Okay, so just see how you feel standing for a moment. Let the shoulders relax down. We've been holding them at shoulder level and kind of getting them to work, hopefully with ease, but sometimes there's still tension created there. See how you feel connected to the floor in terms of weight between your heels and your toes, between right foot and left foot. How's the breath? Yeah, do you make conscious of the breath still being available to kind of a sense of awareness? Okay, so we're going to work a little bit with balance and hip internal rotation, external rotation for the final phase. So it's sort of doing, it's a little bit more challenging for some of us. So if you need a wall for one arm, then you could try that. So bringing one knee up and taking the hands just around the knee, the shin. So you can bring the knee reasonably high, shoulders down. See if you can breathe here. And then I'm just going to move. You stay where you are if you can. I'm going to take the knee out to externally rotate and the arm in the opposite direction. So whether your palm up, down, or facing the front is up to you. It's playing around with that. Okay. And then you're going to bring the knee in. So if you can swap arms, do, to come across the center. Quite juddery tonight. I'm going to blame the floorboards. Okay. Well done. Well done. Back to both hands, so the knee is just in front of the hip, maybe a little bit higher than the hip. Well done, well done. Okay, and then let's step down if you haven't already down. So it's okay, obviously, to come in and out of it. Let's just have a shake between movements so that we just relax again. So all that move with ease can get lost when we get things a little bit more challenging. So what I would say is maybe just do one of the movements and don't do both internal and external if you feel like you're really unstable. Work on trying to get your breath while you're getting your balance so that you're not just holding yourself in position. Okay, so second side, knee comes up to hip height. I'm just going to do a dance, I think. Okay, and relax the shoulders, see if you can breathe, see if you can look straight ahead. That's something that isn't moving. And then when you're ready, taking that leg out to the side, arm in opposite direction. See if you can breathe. Done. Done. And then if you can bring it into internal rotation. Out to the opposite side, maybe. And you breathe. So out breath through the mouth, soft. Out breath if you can. Back to center, if you're still with me. Again, just take a breath. And then come back onto the two legs. Okay, so we're going to finish how we started, but without making it into an extreme extension of the in-breath and the out-breath. So we're just going to take it much softer. So hands, remember, palms face up towards the sky. if I do it. So again, if you want shoulder distance or hip distance between the legs, so you're breathing in and a soft extension, a little bit of the chest coming out, nothing too dramatic. Palms come back down on the out breath. Rotate somewhere around the chest so the palms ends up facing the sky. Let the arms go out before we bring them back up. Spiraling them up. And palms down as we come back down towards the chest, center of the body. Change and spiral out. So you can close your eyes if you wish for the last few movements and see how you can get this to feel like it's a kind of supported movement, whether that's using the breath, in breath to take the arms up and out breath to bring them down, or whether it's a softer breath to really create ease in the movement. So we've created a lot more space, hopefully, in the chest and the breath. We've got a lot more movement, stability, strength through the legs. We've got a good foundation. On which to allow a little bit more ease in the movement. So a couple more. And relax. Have a shake out. Okay, folks, so our work is done. Yeah, so nothing too challenging tonight. So the challenge is going for smoothness, for opening the joints, particularly the back and the breathing muscles. That's where hopefully change can kind of get really established in terms of ease in movement. So have a play with that if you enjoy.